Every family begins with dreams of love, unity, and a future filled with God's blessings. But what happens when life takes an unexpected turn? When the very foundation of a home begins to crack? Daniel and Sarah were once inseparable. Their love was the kind that made others believe in fairy tales. They prayed together, built a home together, and even promised each other that nothing would ever break them apart. But life has a way of testing even the strongest of promises. Daniel worked long hours, drowning in responsibilities. Bills piled up. Pressure mounted. Sarah, at home, struggled to balance raising their two children, Maya and Ethan, while holding down a job. Little by little, stress replaced laughter. Distance replaced intimacy. Their prayers together stopped. Their conversations became arguments. One evening, after another long day, Daniel came home, exhausted. He barely acknowledged Sarah as he dropped his bag on the couch. Sarah, tired and frustrated, sighed. "Sarah, we don't even pray together anymore, Daniel. I'm doing my best, Sarah. You think I enjoy coming home this late? I'm trying to keep this family afloat." Sarah turned away, the weight of unspoken pain pressing on her chest. Daniel rubbed his temples, too drained to continue the conversation. Meanwhile, Maya sat silently in her room, typing a message to her friend. The words on the screen read, "I hate my home. I wish I could run away." Ethan, too young to understand everything, whispered as he hugged his sister, "I just want Mommy and Daddy to stop fighting." The cracks in their family grew wider. For many families, this is where the story ends. But for Daniel and Sarah, God had another plan. One night, after yet another heated argument, Sarah found herself on her knees beside their bed. Tears streamed down her face. "Sarah, God, if you're still here, if you still care, show me what to do." Silence. But sometimes, silence is where God speaks the loudest. The next morning, Sarah visited an old friend. It's Mrs. Grace, a woman known for her wisdom and unshakable faith. "Mrs. Grace, Sarah, God's blessing isn't just in promises, it's in obedience. Have you prayed with your husband? Have you forgiven him?" Sarah looked down, ashamed. Many pray for miracles but ignore God's practical steps: prayer, forgiveness, patience, and trust in Him. That evening, something different happened. Instead of picking a fight, Sarah reached out and placed her hand on Daniel's shoulder. "Sarah, can we pray together?" Daniel hesitated. It had been so long since they prayed as a couple, but something in Sarah's voice, something in the weight of the past few months, made him nod. For the first time in years, they knelt together, side by side. Words were few. Tears spoke more than sentences ever could. Single step of faith can bring healing to a broken home. The days that followed were not perfect, but they were different. The walls between them slowly came down. Daniel made an effort to be home earlier. Sarah chose patience over frustration. They started reading the Bible with their children, even if it was just a few verses a night. One Sunday morning, they went to church together as a family. The pastor's words pierced Daniel's heart. "Pastor, God's blessings come when we surrender, when we obey, when we choose unity over pride." Daniel reached for Sarah's hand. She held it tightly. Watching her parents felt something in her heart shift. Maybe home could feel safe again. Ethan smiled and whispered, "I like it when we're like this." And just like that, the healing began. A family that prays together stays together. God's blessings are not just in promises, but in the steps we take praying together, forgiving quickly, choosing love over pride, and trusting Him daily. Beyond promises are the choices we make. Today, Daniel and Sarah stand stronger, not perfect, but united. Their home is no longer just a house, is a place where God is honored, where love is chosen, and where healing is real. And if God could restore them, He can restore any family. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. God is still in the business of restoring families.